You know what, men? Just lift the freaking seat. Just lift it. It's not that big a deal. Just do a solid and lift it, and then put it down, too.
The ice is set, the crowd's alive. Jay and Jen, they've arrived. Grab your mic, it's game time. Welcome to Hockey and Podcast.
Hello, everybody out there in podcast land. My name is Jay, and if you're tuning into the Hockey and Podcast with myself and my co-host Jennifer. She's sitting on the other side of the glass, so let's welcome her in. Jennifer, welcome into our weekly podcast.
How is everybody else out there in podcast land? I hope you are all well, happy, and just thinking about spring and warm weather.
We're getting there. We had a heat wave where we live. It was in the low 30s this week, and man, did it feel like summertime.
I saw a really funny reel that said, how abused do you have to be to feel that 30 degrees is warm? And I guess we all are abused, because I was really happy when 30 degrees came around.
You talk about funny little things you see on the internet about where you live. I love when it comes to you live in New England, and this woman did a great job. So she did every month. So she showed a video from, let's say, January till about March, where she's like, oh, it's so cold. I can't wait till it warms up. I can't deal with this winter. Then springtime comes. She's like, oh, this isn't too bad. A little rainy, but this isn't too bad. Beginning of summer. Oh, this is exactly what I live for.
It's
this
great.
is great.
It's amazing.
And then the heat comes in July and August. I can't wait till it cools down. When is the cooler weather coming? Fall comes. Oh, this isn't so bad. Look at the pretty colors. It's still a little rainy, but it's not too bad. And then we repeat the cycle all over again. I'm curious if, say, like, for instance, the people in Minnesota who listen to this podcast, and we complain about having a week of single-digit temperature, that they look at us and say, come on now. We have that for like 8 months out of the year. Just suck it up.
Yeah, what we do to everybody south of us, they're probably doing to us, saying, that's nothing.
At the end of it, we're happy, we're healthy, and we're still here, regardless of the weather. So we'll take it, we'll move on, and we will just enjoy the weather as it comes.
That's right.
Today, we have a pretty unique episode, I would say. Obviously, there's no NHL games going on, but there's hockey going on. It's going on over in Italy, so the Italians are hosting this weird little event over there called the Winter Olympics. We will take a look at kind of some things that are going on in the Winter Olympics, and we're going to spotlight, Jennifer, a truly unique, I don't want to call him an individual, but we're going to call him an inspirational figure.
He's a mascot.
Yes, that's showing up in the Olympics that, for me, turned my head. And you, good listener, you should be turning your head, checking this out. So we'll bring out the Olympics and this interesting figure in segment 1.
Side point, just because, we were talking about the Olympics, just quickly, did you know that the Italian team has no NHL stars on it? That was just a side point. Just had put that in there. That's sad. Anyway, go on.
Jennifer doesn't seem to understand the idea of a script yet. So she's just blurting out points left and right that comes to her head, which if, she took the time to look at the script, there's some stuff on there. But that was a very interesting point. Thank you for bringing that out, co-host Jennifer.
Of course. No worries.
In segment number 2, we're going to take a look at a topic that's kind of near and dear to our hearts and is kind of bothering us when it comes to the NHL. And it is, the NHL has changed their dress code policy. And we're going to take a look at what it was, what it is nowadays, how and what we think about it. And then we're going to talk about some players in the NHL that we admire for their fashion sense. So all of that, Jennifer, is what you can expect in episode number 11 of
Hockey and Podcasts.
Now, you better know the name of your own podcast. That's a plus.
I almost said your other name.
Before we get into the Olympics, though, Jen, something interesting happened to us this past week that we just want to bring light to. Being on a podcast, open ourselves up to, let's call it what it is, the public. They can make comments, they can ask questions about the show, about us, about the topics, whatever the case may be. We received a very interesting comment on our Instagram page, which, by the way, is Hockey and Podcast, all one word, on Instagram. So go check that out. And you could see maybe what this person, I guess we could say.
I blocked it. I think I'm going to unblock it because it was funny. I don't know why I blocked it. I blocked it because I was annoyed, I guess.
All right. Well, let's tell everybody what the comment was. So, Jen, tell everyone, what was the comment that we received on our Instagram page when it came to our podcast?
Oh, verbatim, I can't remember exactly what it said, but it was basically saying that the clips that I had put together and the reel that was on there was all AI, and I'm like, that makes 0 sense. If it was AI, you would think it would be a lot better. It's just us talking. What's so AI about that? I don't know. It was weird. And I was like, that makes 0 sense. So I just blocked them. But then I'm like, you know what? What do I care? What do I care what people think about something is AI or not AI or meh? People can say whatever they want. It doesn't really affect us in any way. But I thought that was really funny.
Which brings up an interesting point, because being original is what a lot of people want to be. When they throw around this now, this is the new kind of insult that they try to do. They try to say, hey, look, you're not authentic. You're using AI. I would like to know somebody who isn't using AI, who's in media today. I want to know someone who's not using some form of AI in the workforce. I want to know someone who's not using AI when it comes to their social media. I think AI has now taken over what we all do when it comes to this stuff.
But you and I ourselves are not AI.
That was my point, is it was going down the road of this podcast is an AI podcast. And like you said, if this podcast was an AI podcast, it should be a lot better than it is.
Oh, well. Hey, it is what it is.
So let's put the people's minds at ease right now, Jen. What is a way we can convince them that we are not an AI podcast?
I don't know if it's possible to convince people that we're not. Well, you know what? We mess up enough to know that we're not AI. AI is streamlined. We are definitely not streamlined. We are a mess half the time. So I'm thinking that's probably the way.
I think that's a good way. But as we know, when it comes to using AI, it does have the disclaimer down there that says, hey, check everything over. AI is not perfect. You want to make sure that everything's right. So maybe that's not the right way. But I think I have a way. I think I know the way. You ready for this?
Oh, okay. Okay. Sure.
I think the way is we post pictures of ourselves first thing in the morning. Now, the reason why we do that is if we're AI, we're not going to have any wrinkles. We're not going to have any eye boogers, nose boogers. Our hair's going to be not unkempt, because AI would make us look perfect. So, I mean, is that a way we could do it?
I already look a mess to begin with, so I'd prefer not to do that. But,
Other way I was thinking, simply put, well, maybe we have to have some other real people on here. And then we ask them and say, hey, are you on an AI podcast or are you on a real podcast? Okay, so people, just to put this to bed, we are real people. I know a lot of people out there who listen to this podcast have met me personally. They haven't met my co-host, so
I might be AI.
Ooh, look at that. We made this have to
Hey.
start a controversy. Is Jay that pathetic to where he would fake having a gorgeous wife, like that girlfriend from, that's a supermodel from Canada? Am I pulling this kind of farce on people? Maybe, maybe not.
I think if you were doing that, you could do a lot better. Just saying.
That's not true at all.
All right, moving on.
I outkicked my coverage, and I will be the first one
You
to
sure
admit it.
did. You sure did, baby.
All right, Jen, we've talked enough. The people are probably sitting on the other end going, what in the world am I tuned into? I don't care about their personal lives, if they're real or they're fake. Just entertain me about hockey and what other subjects you want to talk about. So, Jen, the Olympics kicked off, but before we get into the actual gameplay, we found out that the Polish Olympic hockey team has what I would say is probably the coolest mascot I've ever seen.
It's super cute. I love it.
In case you don't know what we're talking about, The Polish Olympic hockey team's mascot's name is Peruguska. Now, Peruguska in Polish means little pierogi,
Brave little dumpling.
brave little pierogi.
So cute.
If you're listening to this going, did they just say, pierogi, that little pastry thing with meat or with potato? That's exactly what we're talking about. It's a half moon pierogi with legs and feet and eyes
It
and
is
mouth.
so cute. I think I want one. It's so cute.
I agree. I want a t-shirt that has the little pierogi on it. So that's going to happen.
It's adorable.
So the vibe that it's giving off, if you could go check it out anywhere online, that's the beautiful thing about the internet. The vibe that Peruguska gives off is, like you said, he's cute. He's semi-round, but he's also energetic. And he has surprising grit, even though he's a pierogi. Now, when it comes to what this pierogi looks like, many people, I think, know what a pierogi is, but the way it's described on the internet is so fascinating to me. It mentions that this Peruguska, or the brave little dumpling, is a small pierogi with expressive eyes and a confident grin. He's red and white, or he has a red and white scarf or jersey on usually to represent his country. He also has tiny little boots.
It's so cute.
And maybe what they call the zabla, which is a Polish saber, a sword type of thing, which is symbolically just used as a confidence kind of tool, not as a weapon. They're pretty peaceful overall. But here's the disturbing part when it comes to the description. The internet describes him as golden brown with crispy edges like a baked pierogi. Jen, do you want your mascots to be described that deliciously?
I mean, I think it's cute. It's a little creepy that he's brown and crispied. He has crispied edges. But hey, he's adorable either way. But the ones that I think the mascot that you see, like the plushies, they don't look like they have crispy edges. So they just look like they kind of look like a cloud. It's just super cute. I want one. It says he's loyal, he's scrappy, and he's always the one cheering louder than anyone. And I think that is awesome. Awesome. Who doesn't need a little brave pierogi by their side?
That is so true. Maybe it helps out the country. Maybe they pull off a miracle moment and go on to win gold because of this pierogi.
You never know.
Now, the story behind Peruguska, the little dumpling with a big heart, is a great story. So I want to read you the story, Jen, okay?
Go for it.
All right. So long before Peruguska became a beloved mascot of the team, he was just a tiny pierogi in a bustling Polish kitchen in Krakow, Poland. Now, according to legend, he was created on the morning of a huge international Polish game, a day when the whole country was buzzing with excitement about the game that was about to happen. Now, the cook who made him was an older woman named Babcia Wanda, and she was famous in her neighborhood for two things. Number one, she made the best pierogies in that area. And number two, her unshakable belief in Polish sports teams, no matter how much they were underdogs or favorites. She followed this team with her whole heart, which is a beautiful thing. We all do that. We all root for our country, or we all root for our home team.
And I'll tell you, being the best in the area, making these for the best pierogies, that's saying a lot, especially if it's over there in Poland. I mean, that's saying, like, I want some of those pierogies.
That's true. That's a good point. Pierogies in Poland, you would think every single one of them is good, and apparently she made the best.
I've only had the frozen kind, so I would love to have fresh pierogies from somebody that knows what they're doing.
Funny enough, I was lucky enough when I was traveling for my job to actually go to a deli in the area I was working in that everyone said they made the best pierogies, and it was a Polish deli. And I actually watched them they actually made them for you in front of you and then, cook them, bake, whatever they did. And I'll say this, I've had the frozen ones too. Night and day comparison. Night and day.
I can
And the
imagine.
filling that they put in them, I mean, it's like, think of it this way. A pierogi is like a food pillow or an enclosed food taco, if you would. So you could put anything you want in there. Okay, but let's get back to our story as far as this wonderful little pierogi how he came into existence. So again, we left off with a big event was coming. And this woman who made the best pierogis in the neighborhood decided she needed to make pierogis to celebrate this event. So it goes on to say that she started to fold the dough with love and confidence. While she was doing that, she whispered the same blessing she always used before a big match to the dough that she was kneading to form this little pierogi. And she said, for strength, for courage, for Poland. So that's what she whispered as she made the dough to make the pierogi. But something was different that day that the story mentioned. A spark happened. Now, some say it was pure national pride. Others say it was the roar of the fans outside getting ready for the big day. But all of that, plus the inspirational words that this older Polish woman said, I'm assuming she's older. That's usually how it goes in these stories.
It says older, yep.
But it actually brought Peruguska to life. It mentions in the story that when she pulled him out of the oven and now he's kind of alive, that's a little weird, but okay, we'll go on. It mentions that she pulled him out, he opened his eyes, he blinked, he wiggled, and then he hopped off onto the counter, landing with a soft, as it mentions in the story, plop on the floor. Now, instead of being scared, Babcia Wanda laughed and embraced it. She said, you're small, but Poland has always been strongest when we fight with heart. That little pierogi took those words to heart and then proceeded to be the Polish national team's mascot from there. So there's the story. Let me ask this question to you. If you put some kind of pastry or anything into our stove and you pulled it out and it opened eyes, stood up and jumped out on the counter, what happens next?
Oh, I'm sorry, but I don't care how cute it is. If that jumps up around me, it's getting squished. It's getting squished. It's just going to happen. I'm not even going to think. I'm just going to be like, yeah, pierogies are not supposed to get up and walk around. It's going to be squished. So I'm so happy that she didn't squish this little pierogi. We would have missed out on all this cuteness.
Is that the difference between us here in America and the rest of the world? They see something like this happen and they think it's a magical situation that they embrace. We think it's some kind of demon that we then try to kill.
Kill it. Yeah, pretty much. Pretty much.
So there's the story of the Polish national team's mascot, which is a pierogi that is cute and delicious and an inspiration to their team. Moving on from delicious pierogi mascots, the Winter Olympic men's hockey has started. We're going to just talk about the men today. The women, I don't think either of us are following. I mean, we check in, we see, the U.S. is winning, we see what Canada's doing. But
yeah, I just know that the USA team have smashed it, as far as I know, up to this point. So I'm thrilled for them. Thrilled.
That's right. Go, ladies, bring home the gold. But the men started their tournament on February 11th. So I'm just going to quickly go through the games as of the recording of this show, what the results were of the games. And then we'll just kind of get a brief overall as what we think. We've watched a few games and we'll give our thoughts on it. Now, we should acknowledge that, look, both of us are not experts when it comes to every single game and the breakdown and what's going on. There are far more intelligent people and better podcasts or better news channels to go check out. This is us just giving our thoughts as far as where it stands right now.
Our 2 cents.
2 cents, which that and about another 50 cents can't even buy you a cup of coffee. So take it as you will.
Mm-hmm.
So on February 11th, which was a Wednesday, Slovakia played Finland, where Slovakia won 4-1.
Now, who does the biggest name on Slovakia's team?
I think it's Yaroslav Slavkovsky, if I'm not mistaken. I could be wrong. We'll get to that a little bit later on. So let's just go through the games. So they beat Finland 4-1, which, from what I hear, is a little shocking, but not too shocking. Then in game 2 of that day, the host country played. So Italy, unfortunately, they had to face off and play Sweden, where Sweden won 5-2. Italy, they're the host team, not very well known for hockey, but hey, to only lose by 3 goals to a team like Sweden, applause, applause. Now moving on to the next day, Thursday, February 12th, Switzerland, who is considered to be one of the top teams in this tournament, faced off against France.
Say that with a French accent.
Oui, where Switzerland proceeded to beat them 4-0. So sorry, France. You make a wonderful croissant, but you just didn't show up for a hockey game. In the second game of that day, what I would say is probably the favorite for most people played, and that's Canada, and they played against Chechnya. If you follow the Bruins, you know that David Pastrnak is on this team, so this is a sad outcome for my David Pastrnak.
Oh, you're David Pastrnak. Okay. No one else is.
Canada proceeded to handle Chechnya 5-0.
Yep.
Now, some said in this game that was actually kind of a down point for Canada, that they should have probably beat them by a lot more. But the fact that, first game out of the gate and you shut a team out 5-0, I would say that's a pretty good game. Moving on, the third game of that day, the United States men made their debut, where they played Latvia. Jen, can you name me one player off the Latvian team?
No.
I don't think many people can,
Are
unfortunately.
there's nobody from the
There's a couple.
Are there? Okay.
There's a couple, I believe, yep. Well, the United States actually, I'm going to call it what it was. I watched this game. They came out, and they looked like they were ready to play. The bad part was they scored 1 goal in the first, then they gave up a goal, and then they scored a second goal, which was called back after review because the play was challenged by the Latvian team, and it was deemed to be offside. Little close. I mean, I guess, I watched the replay, and it was close, but okay, you gotta go with what's called. They proceed to then score another goal after that goal is called back, where Latvia decides, we're 1 for 1. Let's challenge this one too. They challenge it, and it gets called back for goalie interference. Now, watching that play, yes, there was a player close to the goaltender. Now, the whole point behind goalie interference is a player cannot be in the crease, first and foremost, when a goalie's trying to make a save, and they can't impede the goalie from going to those areas where he needs to make the save. After watching that replay, they called it back. So Latvia's 2 for 2 now. That was probably the weakest, I guess you could say, review I've seen. I think if that's in a typical NHL game, I don't think that thing gets overturned.
Oh, okay. Well, hey, it's the Olympics.
Now, many people watching that game started to feel like, is the U.S. in trouble here? The 2 goals called back. I mean, does Latvia just keep challenging every goal and they keep calling it back because there's some kind of conspiracy going on? Well, no, that didn't happen. The U.S. goes on to win that game 5-1. So they handled Latvia as they should. And rounding off the games on Thursday, February 12th, Germany beat Denmark 3-1. Now, if we go on to the Friday games on February 13th, now we get into teams have played, so they're warmed up, they're ready to go. Finland played, when they lost previously. They went in against Sweden, who again is I guess we could call them a top 4 at least when it comes to maybe winning a gold. We see that Finland handled Sweden 4-1.
That's kind of surprising. Yeah.
That's shocking. Yeah. A lot of people said that's an upset right there, and I kind of agree with them. Sweden did not show up.
What do you mean, kind of?
didn't have it. They
No.
didn't have it, and Finland played a solid game. Slovakia got to take on Italy, and this was a pretty decent game. Italy came out. They said, "You know what? What's the matter for you? We're gonna really go after this Slovakian team," and they put forth a really great effort that fell a little short. So Slovakia beat Italy 3-2. Chechnya, David Pasternak, got a little bit upset. And he said, "Okay, we're playing France, croissant France. We're not going to let them beat us." And they did not. Chechnya goes on to beat France 6-3 in a high-scoring event. And then Canada comes in and beats Switzerland 5-1.
That's interesting. Chechnya. Now I'm thinking, how many goals did Pasta get there? Because I'm wondering, what would happen if one person got 3? Would that be considered a hat trick over there in the Olympics? I'm curious.
If they're following U.S. rules, as far as on ice rules, things like that, there's a lot of people from the States, from Canada, and everybody in Europe understands that hat trick mentality. I think it would come across.
But I wonder if there would be hats thrown on the ice, or if that would be like a faux pas. That's interesting. I gotta look that up. Curious.
All right, well, look that up. That ends the day for February 13th, that Friday. Now, we are recording this show on the 15th, on a Sunday. So we got to watch a couple of the games on Saturday. The first game, Sweden comes out, and after that loss said, enough's enough. They go on to beat Slovakia 5-3. And I would say I watched some of that game in the morning. Very entertaining game. Slovakia really showed me something. They had a lot of heart. They really played well. But as we'll discuss a little bit later, with some of these teams, they just have so much talent that they can outlast a lot of these other teams. So Sweden beat Slovakia 5-3. Now Italy gets to play again. Now they've lost 2 games already. They're pretty upset. I don't know any of the players on the Italian team, but I'm sure one of them's like, Joe Ferrari and Billy Lamborghini. They were ready to play.
You are too much.
So they go out and they play Finland. Sebastian Aho and the other Finland players proceed to stomp Italy 11-0.
Horrifying. Horrifying. Well, hopefully Italy's doing better in some of the other areas.
Well, they're definitely doing better probably in the pasta making competition. I think that's where they would, or the sauce, if they're making some
they'd
good,
be leading that.
they crush that event all year long. Well, they lose 11-0, as we mentioned, but they're still a gracious host country. They didn't turn off the lights and say, that's it, we're mad. We're taking our sticks and pucks and going home, get off our ice. They allowed people to continue to use their ice and play games. So the next game, Germany comes out and has to play Latvia. Now, as we mentioned before, Latvia, they played the U.S., lost 5-1. They didn't look like, a potential contender. And Germany's got some really great players. I mean, they've got, Leon Draisaitl, the second best player in the NHL, is on that team. They lose to Latvia. Germany loses to Latvia 4-3. So there's another little surprise.
Is it though? Is it really?
It kind of is. When you look at the German team, they have a number of players that are NHL caliber players, which is, like I say, we'll go over a little bit. Whereas Latvia doesn't, they have close to about the same, but still, you have Leon Draisaitl on your team. I mean, when he plays with the Edmonton Oilers, when Connor McDavid's not there, he carries that team. He should be able to carry a German team against a Latvian team and to a victory. No, that's not what happened, unfortunately.
Here comes another Jennifer side point. Hey! Here comes another Jennifer side point. Hey! Here comes another Jennifer side point.
Side point.
Side point.
I did look up the Olympics and hat tricks, and they do that. So if we happen to see Pasta on the ice and he scores 3 goals, you might see some hats out there. Just had to, push in that little bit of info since I'm the one that brought it up. All right, go on.
Good reporting for the podcast. It's appreciated. On Saturday, the final game that we watched was United States faced off against Denmark. In the beginning of this game, I was a little worried, going to be honest with you. We were excited because our boy, Jeremy Swayman, was starting in net. And we love that. We kind of both said to each other watching this game that if he plays well, meaning Jeremy Swayman, I think he could be the number one goaltender moving forward for like the bigger games against Canada and all the other teams when they're getting into medal contention. I didn't have a lot of faith in Colin or Hellenbuck. I know he had a great game the game before, but he looked shaky to me a little bit. So they bring in Swayman, and he proceeds to get scored on very early on in the first period.
And it was not a particularly difficult.
Well, it was a deflection. It was, it was a little, the puck was shot in front. It got kicked around, and it went in for the first goal. Okay, that happened. Well, a little bit later on, Denmark shoots a puck basically from just inside the red line that goes in. So from outside the zone, a player shoots it and scores off Jeremy Swayman.
I wonder if there's something that caused this or that affected him not getting that puck.
They showed the replay a couple of different angles, and I'm going to give credit where credit's due. Brian Boucher, who is the on-ice analyst for the Olympic Hockeys, and we like to call him who?
Bobby Boucher's brother.
That's right. We love Bobby Boucher's brother, Brian Boucher. He brought out some really good insight where he showed the angle from kind of where, behind the goal. What he said happened, Jeremy Swayman just lost it in the background. Now, if you looked at the angle he was looking at, when the guy fired the puck, the background on the boards, the color scheme that was there kind of blended in a little bit more. So that was number one. Number two, there was a defenseman standing in front of Jeremy Swayman. When the puck is fired, look at the goaltender from, outside. It's going towards the top left corner. Well, right before it's fired, Jeremy Swayman has to lean to the other side, so his left, and the puck's fired and it goes over his shoulder on the other side. Because he's leaning that way, he couldn't see it. And then on top of it, once the puck is shot, it's not only kind of, mixed in with the board background, but then with the player, the defenseman standing in front of him, it kind of blends in there too. And again, that puck is screaming. Because I think all three of those factors, Swayman didn't pick it up early, moved to one side, and it blended in. I think that's what caused that goal to happen.
So it wasn't as weak as it looked.
It's still weak.
On Swayman's end, I was like, what? That's weak. How could you let that in? But, given those circumstances, I can understand. He's not perfect. There's no way he's going to be able to. I mean, and like you said, he's leaning the opposite way because he couldn't see. So, I mean, I don't really think that that's something that Swayman could have avoided. Although he was right there. He was right there. Did it tip off his shoulder? Or did it just go right over?
Caught his jersey a little bit, but Jen, I'm going to disagree with you there just from the simple fact that you can't let those goals in. I'm sorry. You got to get big in the net. I mean, if it means he's got to fall back into the net a little bit so he covers more area, stay big, you got to stop that puck. Things like that are what kill teams. It's like, in a football game when a team's playing, like say there's a highly favored team and the highly favored team gives up, a couple of fumbles that the other team runs in for a touchdown. Those are the things that cause upsets when unexpected things like that happens. I'm going to put the onus on him.
But there are reasons. In any case.
There are, but you got to make that save is the end all to that.
You can't save something you can't see coming.
No, you should. He's screened all the time when pucks come in. They have the techniques. They got to get big. They got to know which area to cover. They have to anticipate where the puck's going to go. Yes, you can guess wrong. Again, when it's a center ice shot, you should stop that 100 out of 100 times.
Yeah, I guess you're right.
But we still love Jeremy Swayman.
Yes.
Even though he embarrassed us as Boston Bruin fans. The good thing is, even after all that, and we were nervous, and after that first period where it's like, is the U.S. going to stumble to a Denmark team? No, that did not happen. They proceeded to go and score 6 goals, and they beat Denmark 6-3 in a final.
And Sway stayed in. We were thinking maybe that he would be getting pulled. I'm really glad they didn't pull him because anything from there forward, I mean, I wonder what the next who's going to be in that next game for US.
They'll probably
Switch everybody
go,
up.
I'm going to guess with Jake Ottinger. They're still, they're not into those critical games yet. And I think they're still feeling out I mean, Connor Hullenbuck definitely took taking the lead over Swayman. Now it's who's your potential number one or your number two? Is it Swayman or is it Jake Ottinger? And if Jake Ottinger comes in and does a great job, I think he could be the number one goalie. We shall see. But that's a good problem to have. Those are three great goaltenders, and I think anybody would want to have. One of the things that's interesting to us that we talked about while this game's going on is the fairness when it comes to the rosters of each of these teams.
I got a lot of thoughts on it, but
Here's what we mean by that. We calculated all the players on each team as far as how many regular NHL players are on each team. So here's the list. The United States has 25 NHL players, so their roster is full of NHL players. 25 is the number. Canada, 25, another full roster. Sweden, 25. Those are the favorites, have a full roster of
yeah.
players who play in the NHL.
Yeah, of course they're the favorites.
All right, here we go now down the hill. Finland, surprisingly enough, has 24 NHL players on their roster. Chechnya, again, David Pastrnak, ready for this drop-off, has 11. Switzerland has 10. Germany, Leon Draisaitl's team, has 7. Slovakia also has 7. Latvia has 6. Denmark has 6. France, has uno, or 1.
That's not how you say it it's in French.
Thank you for that correction.
Un, deux, trois, remember?
Yeah, that's true. That's true. And France only has 1 NHL player. And Italy, I didn't even see. I don't know if they have any or maybe they have 1.
No, Italy, I looked it up. Italy has 0.
Zero
They have 0.
NHL players, and they're the host country.
It puts the Chechnya-France game into perspective a bit more. The fact that Chechnya 6 and France was 3, and that's, of course, it's going to be like that because of the one has got a lot more pro players. I don't like it. I wish that they didn't have the pro players in there. I love seeing them play. I love it. But I think it's unfair to everybody else. I don't feel like the NHL players should be allowed in the Olympics because it skews it. It skews it too much. You got people that are doing this, getting paid loads of money to do this. I don't think it's fair.
Well, the NHL is trying to build a worldwide brand here.
I know, but I don't think the Olympics should allow the NHL in there. I think the Olympics should say no pro players. But as we've seen, that doesn't happen. But I feel like that, miracle on ice, right? None of those guys were pro. I mean, and they did something amazing. And I think that I would love to see the everyday Joe, the non-paid players be able to show what they're worth. A little bit more realistic. But hey, it's not what's happening, so I can appreciate it for what it is. But it's, when you see Canada, Sweden, and Finland stacked like that, and the U.S. stacked, of course they're going to have a little bit more to say on the ice than the other countries.
You have to remember when Miracle happened, the U.S. had a team of, like you said, college kids, but the Russian team, that was a professional team that they found a loophole that said, we're not going to pay them because they work for the state, if you would.
Right.
So they're a national team, even though they had been together for 15 plus years. If you recall, during that time period, during that Miracle run, the Russian team was beating NHL all-star teams in exhibition games. So the NHL top team or top players couldn't beat that Russian team, but these kids could.
But that's what makes it so much better. I mean, that makes it so much better that the everyday Joe went out on the ice and beat this Russian team, and that's what I want to see. That's why I'm sorry, the hockey in the Olympics to me is not as exciting as it could be, because I'm already looking at the people and the teammates, and I'm like, okay, well, yeah, they're stacked, so they're probably going to win this, that, and I don't know. It doesn't excite me. But anyway, I digress.
The Olympics basically is if you're playing a video game and you go on the mode where you get to just draft the team you want, of course you're going to draft, McDavid, Draisaitl, Pastrnak.
Right.
So you have the best players playing on your team. That's what this is. There's definitely, when you put all these teams into a bowl and mix them up, I would say there's 4 teams, maybe 5 that have a shot at winning gold.
And that's not right.
Well,
in my mind,
this happens.
It's not right.
This is the Olympics. The Olympics comes down to how much money does a country have to build an Olympic roster, the figure skaters, the skiers, things like that. And in this case, when we're talking about hockey, this is the first time the NHL has been back in a number of years. Before that, when the NHL wasn't there, did people care? Do people care about players they don't know on the ice representing their country? I mean, Miracle, until they made that run to play Russia, no one really cared. It was like, these college kids, who cares?
Well, I think they didn't care because Russia was such a dominating force at that time. I mean, I think if the same thing happened now, it would be different.
Maybe, maybe not. We don't know. The problem I have with it is in line with what you said. The top 4 teams that have basically full rosters of NHL players, what they're able to do that a lot of these other teams can't do is outlast. Now, what I mean by that is, for instance, looking at that USA-Denmark game. Denmark came out, again, scored early. They kept it close in that first period. What happened after that is now this roster effect. Because Denmark only has 6 NHL stars and everybody else is kind of an international player, again, not the top caliber, the U.S. basically is pumping out 4 lines of NHL All-Stars that any one of those players could score. Whereas a team like Denmark can maybe push out 2, maybe. So if I'm pushing out 4 lines of incredible stars and you're only pushing out 2 lines, it doesn't matter what you do. Unless we fall apart, I'm going to outlast you as a team. I'm going to outplay you because I have higher talent, and there's nothing you can do about that.
Hey, the fact that they got 3 and we were nervous, I think that's amazing. Amazing. Good for Denmark. I mean, because of the way the teams are stacked. I think they showed tremendous potential, working together. And maybe, I mean, I'm saying that, but who knows if Sway was having an off day too.
That's right. Protect your guy, Swayman. Protect him. He's your guy.
I gotta. He is. Goalies in general. I love my goalies.
Jen, let me throw this scenario at you as far as my thoughts, how to potentially fix this. You tell me what you think, okay?
Okay, yeah.
At the next Winter Olympics in 4 years, what if the Olympic Committee decides, here's what we're going to do when it comes to hockey, especially the men's hockey league. We're going to say, you need to have half your team NHL stars and half of your team as college or amateur players, okay? And that applies for everybody. Now, when you get down to, say, like a team like Germany, well, it doesn't matter. You only have 7 potential stars, but you could see where potentially it could even out the U.S., Canada, Sweden, and Finland. They would only have probably 12 or 13 on each team, however that worked out. But they don't have, again, 4 lines of NHL All-Stars jumping over the boards every single game against a team like Germany, who maybe has 2. What do you think?
It would help. I think it would help, but at the same time, then you've got countries like Italy. They have nobody. They have nobody. I think it's still unfair because you have these guys are getting paid to do what they do. The other players that are not NHL, I'm sure they have stipends. They get paid in some way, shape, or form. But it's not the same type of thing. And the way that the NHL stars play, the how often they play, that's something else I think to take into consideration because they're constantly at it. They don't have other jobs. This is their job. So I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know how it could be fair at all if you're allowing the NHL in at all.
The Olympics isn't about being fair. The
I
Olympics is
know it's
about
not.
marketing. And I'll give you the perfect example when you talk about fairness. Back in, what was that, the 80s, I believe it was? There was a movie called Cool Running, which had to do with the Jamaican bobsled team.
Yes.
Why does Jamaica have a bobsled team when they don't even have snow in their country? But it was an inspirational story, and we saw what happened. That's what the Olympics is all about. They want U.S. to win majority of the medals because they understand we're a machine. Canada, they're a machine. Russia, if they were allowed to be in the Olympics, they pump this stuff out.
They were going to be allowed, but there were a bunch of caveats.
Yeah, well, that's a political thing, and we don't care about politics on this podcast. But they don't care about fairness. They want the story. So if the top countries go out and win a bunch of goals, that's great. Every so often, one of these little countries, wins something in cross-country skiing or something else, or if they upset a big dog in the Olympics, that's what they're looking for. So the Olympics doesn't care about fairness. Again, they're just something that they want eyes on screens to watch them. Look at the sports that are being introduced now to the Olympics. I mean, I thought the Olympics was all about coming from Greece and that originality, and there's a core group of sports that they play that, everybody knows. You've got things coming up like in the Summer Olympics. I think flag football is now an Olympic event. I mean, who cares? Does anybody care about that? I don't. I mean, pretty soon it's going to be like breakdancing is going to be an Olympic event.
It might already be. Who knows?
It might be.
Breakdancing. How old are you?
Electric Boogaloo 1 and 2. I'm just going to say that. Look it up, kids. Great,
Oh my
terrible
goodness.
movies. I lost my thought with Electric Boogaloo. So there you go. So yeah, that's right. So fairness in the Olympics, don't care. It's about views. It's about, eyes on screens. But when it comes to hockey, that we're hockey purists. We love the game. I think that's why we're both kind of upset because it's imbalanced. We think basically 4 teams are playing for a gold medal. If a team like Switzerland can upset, I mean, that is a possibility. I could see something like that happening. Is it realistic? Probably not. Just because, as we mentioned, just the overall, amount of players that these top 4 teams are throwing out against you at any time. The Olympics is ongoing. What do you think? Overall thoughts so far as the men's hockey? You enjoyed it? You enjoyed the games overall that you've seen?
Of course. We were out, and I was trying so hard to watch the Italian versus U.S. When we sat down, we're in a diner. We decided to get some breakfast, and Jay, of course, realizes that the TV's on, and I don't know how the man does this. How he's like, his radar goes off. He's like, ooh, TV, ooh, hockey, ooh, I gotta sit on that side of the table in order to be able to see the game. So the whole time he's watching the game, I'm watching him, and I'm watching his reaction. So every time something happens, I have to turn around to look at the TV. So that was a little bit annoying, but that was it was exciting to see Italy on the ice because to me that's just weird. It's just strange to have Italy on the ice. It's kind of, in my mind, it's almost like having Jamaica, a Jamaican hockey team type of thing. So Italy and hockey are not synonymous with one another. So it was nice to see them out there. I do wish that they had been able to get at least one goal. But hey, it's Italy, Italy's got a lot going for it.
Speaking of men and our abilities, Jen, you mentioned this, you don't understand how I'm able to comprehend, as we're walking to our table at the diner, I'm already formulating I need to sit there at this angle because, the game's on and I have to beat you to the chair, and all that. Now, here's the amazing
He
thing.
actually said, "Hey, switch." He said, "Switch, switch." All right, go ahead.
Here's the amazing thing.
Okay.
So I'm able to basically Mission Impossible you as a guy, right? Formulate all these scenarios in my head to get that seat so I can watch that game in the wild, as we mentioned. But men, myself included in general, seem to have an impossible time comprehending the idea that when we use the bathroom in our house, that we need to pick up the seat when we pee.
Okay.
We just can't fathom that in our heads. But I can formulate how to outmaneuver you in the wild to sit at a seat. Isn't that amazing how the male brain works?
Yeah, you know what that says to me? That says to me, you guys care about what's important to you, screw everybody else. So there you go, men out there.
Screw everybody else. That's how we're going to
Hey.
end this segment.
I was going to sit on that side. I was going to be able to see the TV. Jay says, "Oh, switch with me." And here I'm thinking he wants to switch with me because he wants to be able to watch the door in case anything comes in the door. That was my immediate thought. And then I turned and I saw the TV and I was like, "Oh, what was I thinking? He's not trying to look out for me. He's looking out for himself and that game." But that's okay. That's okay. It's all right. It was the U.S. against Italy, and we just went to Italy, so I can understand.
It wasn't the U.S. against Italy, by the way.
It wasn't?
No, it was not. It was
I
Finland.
thought it was. It was
Finland.
Finland?
Finland.
Oh, well, they still smashed
Oh,
me, though.
this podcast is going down the tubes already.
No, it's not. Stop
Well,
it.
with that being said,
Was that that was the one? Oh, that was the one.
that was the 11-0. Yeah, come on now.
Goodness.
Come on.
Hey.
As far as you insulting man, our race in general, I will take it upon myself, gentlemen out there, to make sure that the point is driven home, and I will make sure to get plenty of pee-pee on the toilet seat moving forward so that she understands.
Oh, you are disgusting. Oh, trust me, you do as it is anyway. You do as it is anyway. But you know what, men? Just lift the freaking seat. Just lift it. It's not that big a deal. Just do a solid and lift it, and then put it down, too. Actually, put the whole thing down. Put the lid, all of it. Put it all down. There you go.
How we went from talking about Olympic hockey to pee-pee on a toilet seat.
That was
is
you.
beyond me. But
That was all you, bro. All you.
But that's the exciting topics and discussions that we have here on this podcast. Closing out the Olympics, I agree with you. I think overall they've been pretty exciting, even the non-U.S. and non-Canada games. But we're now looking forward to this upcoming week. We get into the more important games. Now we're starting to play for seedings, for who's going to go for, the medals, things like that. We will continue to watch the games. We will continue to be amazed by the play on the ice, as well as the topic, will Jay lift the toilet seat moving forward? We shall find out.
If you want to live through the night, you will.
You know who has no problem lifting the toilet seat?
Well, now who?
My cart post has no problem lifting the toilet seat. I have no idea how that connects, but my cart post is a sponsor of the Hockey and Podcast. And again, I said last episode, I don't know how much longer they will be, but they are as of today. My Card Post is a trading card website where you can go and buy and sell cards, and you can also trade cards on this platform. Now that's a beautiful thing, especially when you're comparing them to the bigger dogs out there. One of the things that My Card Post does that they don't take any of your money when you make a sale, Jen.
That's unheard of.
That's right.
It's unheard of.
They allow you to keep all your money when you make a sale, not like the bigger dogs out there who take double digits because, they're corporate fat cats and they need to make big profit margins. I'm not saying My Card Post doesn't, but he understands. He's a collector. He's passionate about this hobby, unlike some of the bigger platforms. So My Card Post allows you to keep all your money, allows you to make trades like you would in person or at a show, and you could do so with confidence.
I'd imagine too, it's less of a bummer when you get a really big car, you get a really great trade, or you get a really great sale, and you don't see money coming off of it. I think that must be such a high to be like, yes, it's all coming to me, rather than big chunk of it going to people that don't care one way or another.
That's right. Mark looks at it as though he's enhancing the hobby, whereas these other platforms are just taking your money. So if you haven't already done so, go check out my card post. Go check out the fact that to keep all your money, all you have to do is pay a very low monthly subscription fee. There's different tiers, many of them under $20 a month, and you get to keep all your money.
Worth it.
And the good part about it, you're going to save a lot of money. And that's going to help you to buy such things in your regular life as toilet paper, to then wipe off the toilet seat that you did not lift. Go check out my card post. It is the site that will help men survive the women's wrath when it comes to the toilet seat being down. That's my card post.
Okay.
Segment number 2 is a very quick one we thought we'd just touch on because it's something that bothers us. And that is the NHL dress code policy. And do we like it? Now, before we get into our opinions, what the rule has been throughout the years leading up to this past year is NHL players were required to arrive at games in what the NHL called full business attire.
Which I loved.
Typically a suit, a tailored suit, tie, dress shirt, nice shoes. And the idea of that was to show a form of professionalism, discipline, respect for the sport as a whole. You recall when players would step off the bus or walk into the arena, the suit walk was part of the culture, part of its identity. And its since then has changed.
And I mean, not for nothing, but you got guys that are going on the ice and they're sweaty. All right, they're sweaty and they're fighting. They're very, very intense. And so to have the opposite view of them when they're coming in is refreshing. It's such a nice thing. It's like these guys are hockey players. They're tough. They're going to go out there. They're going to wind up with a bloody nose, but they clean up so well. And so it's like in stark contrast. And that's the part about it that I've always enjoyed and I've always appreciated. And I've really liked it. It's been something I've enjoyed.
So you like the idea of, let's just say, a hockey player who's wearing the suit and, looks good, goes out and plays, gets a black eye, loses a tooth, then comes out in a suit for his press conference and he's got all these bruises. It's kind of a nice little dichotomy as far as difference between the brutalness of the sport with the refinement of the player.
It's like the bad boy that gets dressed up in a suit and just looks amazing. I mean, it's like I said, the contrast.
Many people, I think when women look at men, it's from a point of what attracts them to men. Some think, oh, it's, if a guy could go out and he has ripped abs, big arms and big legs and, he's in great shape. Maybe there's a lot of women that like that. But if I said to you, Jen, do you think more women get turned on by a man in a finely tailored suit than they do, like I said, with big arms, big chest? Is that more attractive to women than the sexual part of, like we said, take the shirt off, take the pants off type of thing?
Yeah, the suit is great. The suit is great. But I think as far as it comes to what I like to see, a white t-shirt, pair of jeans, and some like work boots. That I think is the standard. For a lot of women, it's just a white t-shirt, jeans, and some boots. It's simple. We're simple. We're not as complicated as men and maybe some women would lead you to assume. Don't assume these things. Most of us, the majority of us, love simple. Although I absolutely adore the way that they look in jeans, t-shirt, boots, what have you. I can really appreciate a finely tailored suit on a man when they're tall and I mean, come on, what's better than that?
I think the NHL decided it's time to make a change. So starting in the 2026 season, the NHL and the NHLPA put in the CBA where they eliminated that mandatory dress code entirely.
I hate it. I hate it.
Some of the points that come from this new updated policy is teams can no longer enforce any dress code rules for players, number one. Number two, players can dress simply now in a way that aligns with, as they put it, contemporary fashion norms. It kind of opened the door to what the NBA did as far as making it more about personal expression and more of an individual fashion statement than, hey, everybody's wearing a suit.
The NHL was already doing that. They were already tailoring it, or the players, I should say, were already tailoring it to their unique personalities while keeping it very business attire. You know, like Pasta, for instance, coming out and all the crazy things that he comes out. He still looks great, but he's got his own unique interpretation of it in there. I like that, but I like the respect that they're showing by getting dressed up. I think it's a respecting, and I'm sad to see it go.
It's funny because you talk about players, and it seems like the players and the fans are kind of split down the middle. A lot of players, when asked about this, were excited about this freedom that they can kind of dress how they want and do what they want. And again, this is about personal expression. But a lot of other players preferred that old school now. It's now old school, that suit tradition, because again, it spoke to the game, where it came from,
Right.
all the other things we mentioned.
The respect level.
The fans are in the same boat, right? I think you ask any fan, I think it's 50-50. It's split down the middle. They like the idea that they can look at their favorite player and see his personality as far as how he chooses to dress. And again, as long as they keep it in a clean, as it mentioned, of contemporary, fashionable type of situation, they like that. But then there's other people who, like you said, want to see that, I guess we could call it, difference between a rough and tumble hockey player in a suit. So again, a more refined type of thing.
Bad boy.
Now, again, this shift has sparked debate. As we said, it's split down the middle. There's a lot of different points, who thinks what. But again, hockey comes from the history of it was always more conservative compared to the other leagues when it came to fashion.
Which is strange, which is really weird. And that's why I like it so much, because it's so polar opposite of what they're doing on the ice.
And on top of it, like it said, the NBA, when they kind of went away from it, it became more about flash. You know, these guys would dress up in a way, they would show jewelry. Again, personal, that's great. But does it take away something now when you're allowing this to be more about the flash rather than the respect? So let's take a guy like Austin Matthews. Austin Matthews, his style has always been about high fashion. He's a fashion guy. He likes, Louis Vuitton. He likes all that stuff. Now, if he, as a top NHL guy, goes out and starts wearing, some of that weird fashion stuff, that's meant more to be about, hey, look at me. Does that take away from then the team aspect, the game aspect? What do you think?
I don't know if I feel like it takes away from it. I do feel, like I said, I do feel about the respect end of it. I think when you're dressed up to the nines like that, you're showing a level of respect for what you're showing up to do. All of our top guys with their style, they are all showing up dressed to the nines, showing respect for the game, respect for the fans, just respect in general. Austin Matthews is definitely one of the top as far as his fashion sense is concerned. He's very good. I wonder if he's got somebody behind the scenes helping him out with that, because he always looks great.
He is acknowledged. He likes fashion. He digs it. I think he even invests in it. He has lines, or he lends his name to lines. So he's about that. And again, that's great if that's his personality. What I don't want to see happen, and I just hope this doesn't happen, is we get this to the point to where These guys are walking in sweatpants,
I
sneakers,
know.
t-shirt. That, I agree with you, takes away from the respect of the game because that's, as we go on, ever since COVID, hoodies, sweatpants, Ugg slippers is kind of the new norm when people go out. As I am wearing a hoodie recording this episode, but I'm inside. So I have that.
I'm giving him the face. Yes, but you do wear all that stuff. Like when we went out to eat yesterday, I wore jeans, you wore your sweatpants and a hoodie.
Well, because I'm following the NHL's new dress code and I'm personally expressing how I feel.
No, that's the NHL did not say yes to sweatpants. Still has to be respectful and put together.
Since this change was made, I will say I do enjoy some of the guys. They do have some really nice fashion sense. Again, if someone's doing it for them or they're doing it for themselves, girlfriends, wives, however the case may be. It's interesting to see when it's done right. It's also interesting to see the guys who have chosen to hold on to the tradition and keep wearing the suits, or maybe not the suit, but nice dress jacket, pants, that kind of stuff, nice shoes. I just like that we're not going over the top with gaudy type of things like gaudy jewelry and, weird hats turned sideways and things like that. Let's keep that respect part of it in the game where you could still be a person, an individual, how you want to dress, but always respect the game.
Now, pasta was always one that I do not like his style. I do not like it at all. I think it's too flashy. But that's my own opinion. It is still a suit, but it's very loud and obnoxious. So I'm not fond of that. But it's still a suit. So I'm curious to see. I haven't really noticed what he's been doing, and has this gone into effect this year?
Yes.
So I haven't really noticed what he's been wearing. So I can't really speak to that quite yet. But I think a lot of these guys are still dressing up. They're still doing what they were doing. It works. Why change something that's not broken,
Well, what's interesting is when you look at the players themselves and where they come from, it kind of shows you how different countries even view fashion. So we talked about David Pastrnak, who's Chechnyan. He's European. Now look at his friend, William Nylander, right? Same thing. He's European as well. He dresses kind of the same way. Very sleek. Again, different. Maybe not as loud as Pastrnak, but he always has a polished look. He's into fashion. He understands what he needs to wear, what goes well together. But for him, it's less about, hey, look at me. And it's more about cleanness, sleek. Two different perspectives from Europe. Now, let's talk about Canadian players. So you have, for instance, someone we just talked about recently, Linus Ullmark. Now, Linus Ullmark, when you watch him, he is always about tailoring. Fitted suits, jackets, he always looks like he buys something and it gets fitted to him. And especially for a goalie, that's something that's a little bit unique. So it shows he's creative, but yet still refined. He respects the game and he does all that stuff. But now on the other side, you look at someone like Connor Bedard, who is a young kid. Now, I understand kids today don't want to dress like their parents or us old people. But what's interesting to me about Bedard is he's giving you a more modern look. So kind of what the NHL was talking about with this stuff. It's still very stylish. He's still very conscious about that. He cares about his opinion, his brand, how he looks. He has said he wants to look sharp, and I think he's pulling that off.
Yes, I love that.
Then to contrast, we talked about Austin Matthews. Very high fashion, very, wants to put it out there as far as this is the fashion, the new thing. And he does that, but he does it in a great way.
Love it.
Look at someone like Jack Eichel from the Vegas Golden Knights. He's a little bit more, refined as far as he's more of a minimalist. He likes the luxury.
He's understated.
Understated's a great word, but he's still showing you the fact that he knows how to wear elite clothing or high fashion clothing, but it just doesn't have to be so eye-popping or in your face, like we said, like a Pastrnak or some of the other European players.
And honestly, I'm fine with, I've seen some of the guys, they've worn sweaters and they're still wearing like dress slacks, I think that that's fine too. I just hope that they don't start going down the road of, like you said, jeans, hoodies, all that kind of stuff. I mean, the sweater look is fantastic. I don't know what they're gonna do in the summer when it's hot, when it's warmer, or in the late spring, early summer when it's warm. Curious to see how that's gonna play out. But as long as they are nice and neat, nice and neat, dressed well, it doesn't necessarily have to. They don't necessarily have to be wearing a dress jacket and a tie. Like I say, as long as they don't go down the road of being too casual.
I think we can summarize this by saying change is good.
Change is good.
Change is good. But at the same time, hold on to some of the traditions, hold on to the respect of the game as far as how you're presenting yourself. Being an NHL player or star, you're representing our game, you're representing our team. And finally, please do not dress up as pirates, as colonial people, or Tampa Bay Buccaneers football players before a game, because that's the worst thing ever. Agreed?
Agreed. Who else? What other sports do they have to? Is there anybody else that had to dress up? Is it just hockey?
All the other sports used to, but they went away from it sooner than hockey. Like you said, basketball was kind of the last one that held on to it. But as we said, they moved on. And I think this is the NHL trying to keep up with the times to say, look, every other league's kind of allowing all their players to do what they want.
Yeah, but it makes them stand out.
I mean, there was a time, Jen, in baseball, for instance, where if you were on the New York Yankees, you couldn't have facial hair.
And you had to keep your hair cut short. Isn't that still oh, no, that's not still the thing. You couldn't have facial hair either?
They couldn't have facial hair back. Don Mattingly had a mustache as a young man, comes to the Yankees, and is basically told, you got to cut your mustache. He's like, but why?
Okay, that's a bit much. Yeah.
Change is good. Change is good. We want to see this stuff. It's a young person's world. Us old dinosaurs are fading away to become crude oil.
Maybe you're a dinosaur. I'm not a dinosaur. I'm still kicking it, baby.
So there's our thoughts on the NHL's new dress code. I think what we're both saying is we don't mind it. Respect the game and respect the team and present yourself in a way that you're not just going to be doing it for clicks and things like that because you're wearing something outlandish. So this is what we want to see. But we applaud these young people or these players who want to do something a little bit different. But again, respect the game. All right, Jen. Well, that's the end of our episode. People, what did you think? We talked about the Olympics. We talked about the Perogi mascot, which is one of the coolest things ever. And we also talked about the dress code in the NHL. With all of that stuff, what did you think? Was there something you agreed with us, something you disagreed with us, or something you were like, look at these, listen to these fools, they don't know what they're talking about? Well, that's interesting to us. As not being an AI podcast, we really like people's input. So give us your input. Hit us up on such things as our Instagram page, like that one individual who called us an AI podcast. We are not an AI podcast. Oops, sorry. I don't know how that happened.
Whoopsies.
Oops. Oh, the curtain. Oh, no. They're like in Oz. The curtain has been moved. Either way, hit us up at our Instagram page. Let us know what you think. As always, if you want to catch up on other episodes, you can go to such places as Spotify, Apple. You can even go to YouTube, where you don't have to see our pretty faces, but you could see the words typed out on the screen in case you want to read our podcast while it's going on as well, too. But it's available in many other places where you get your podcast. Jen, we're going to close out this episode pretty easily. You got anything for the people before we go? And that's really good. Okay, Jen, thank you so much for contributing at the end of the podcast. For the Hockey and Podcast, I'm your host, Jay. That insightful ending was Jennifer. As always, we thank you for listening, and we look forward to our next episode and you tuning in.
You suck.
For the Hockey and Podcast, I'm Jay. That's Jennifer. Wishing you adieu. So, adieu, people.
Ciao, y'all.